Okay, so let's continue with the OSS introduction. Let's skip this one. This is a little bit too complex. I'm going to skip this. Usually, whatever cloud product we introduce, we have this kind of comparison between the traditional one and the cloud one, right? So you see, definitely traditional one, we have some disadvantage, which is once you decide how much capacity you want to purchase, you have to decide it earlier. You have to use up your budget maybe also in advance, and you need to plan how can I back up the data, how can I keep the data either physically secure, either software level data secure, and you need to consider all the electronic and cooling system put around the data storage. All this kind of cost and operation complexity need to be considered for the traditional storage. But for OSS, definitely it is something operation totally by us, and we provide the enterprise level security, and the data can be distributed, based on your configuration, either in same zone, either cross region. We give you all the capabilities, and OSS is always pay and you go. There's no we can buy some package to save your cost also, and generally speaking, you can use OSS as whatever you store there, and how many times you access the data. That is the cost you may need to consider. Since OSS is the first storage, besides the database, OSS is the first storage product we introduced. Every storage product we introduced from the following aspects: the scalability, simplicity, security, availability, and inclusive. So scalability is more like, if I want to add more, how can I, is that easy to add more storage or more data into the storage? Or if I want to shrink, is that easy to shrink, right? So definitely OSS is very convenient to do that. You can make your single object very large, and you don't need to consider the upper limit of the OSS. And we never give you a so-called the upper limit configuration for the OSS. You can consider it as the unlimited online storage, okay? And the simplicity means you should have a lot of different ways to access your data, either including from console or from the API from the API calling or from the SDK. We support several different ways so that you can always get your data anywhere and anytime. The security is a very important one, because you never want to lose your sensitive data to anyone else. So for security, we protect from the network security point of view, but also from the data security, including the encryption, decryption. I will show you the details later on. So availability, again, it is about how redundant you want to make your data is. Basically, from Alibaba Cloud file system, remember it's named the Pangu, and we use Pangu file system to provide 3 copies for each slice of your data and bring you almost, should be 9.9 kind of data reliability. And the last feature for the OSS is called the inclusiveness. It sounds a little bit weird, right? What is inclusiveness means for OSS? Inclusiveness means OSS is very flexible, and it can be considered as a data source, and it can be considered as a data destination. Regarding data destination, we can put the database backup files into the OSS, right? We can put a lot of things like the log files into the OSS. That is the destination, but it can be considered as a source also. What does that mean? Because you can put the log file in the OSS, you can put a lot of very valuable information into the OSS. So OSS can be the data source for the further data analysis, right? You can import whatever in the OSS from OSS to ADB, Alibaba Cloud Analytic DB, or the database engine like the Max Compute or the MapReduce or your own Hadoop file system. Once you do this kind of import, then they can do the further, dig for those data. Okay, so now you see the 5 major features we are looking at for the OSS, right? Let's see. Yeah, regarding OSS, name and object storage. So we need to know what is the object. Object means everything. In the OSS, they don't care about exactly what you are. They name them all an object. So again, it could be a video, audio, document, whatever you can think, and the whole to upload to the OSS. And once you upload the object, you immediately get a key. And I said it is a global unique key. So you can always find it. And regarding to the key and data, there are some metadata like the size, like the security ACL will be considered as a metadata for that object. In the AC exam, we may have some question asking about this one, right? What does this mean, 5 GB? It means our console, the console from here, right? So if you look into the OSS is, from the console, you can do a lot of things, right? You can do a lot of things. Let me just pick up a random one. So again, from the console, you can just upload, right? Just upload one object from local to the cloud. You see, I just uploaded one of my pictures, right? But the 5 GB is talking about this, the size of the file you upload through the console cannot be larger than 5 GB. But someone may say, okay, 5 GB is not too big. How about I have bigger file? If you have a bigger file, you cannot use console, but you can use a lot of other things like our OSS import or OSS client, those kind of tools. And even in my laptop, you see, I have a tools installed called the OSS browser. You can install it from the Windows or Mac or the Mac operating system. And after you configure some of the access control information, you can upload your OSS files from there. Okay. And the bucket. Now you see in the console, we have something called the bucket. I have a lot of buckets because I do a lot of demos before, but bucket, it is very, good naming, I would say. Even for AWS, they use bucket. I'm not sure for Azure if they call it a bucket or not, but for AWS, I think they call it also bucket. And bucket, why I'm saying it is a very good naming, because for bucket, it is just a bucket. You can put everything in, right? They don't care about the shape and the size. So it's quite vivid. And the bucket has some kind of special rules and principles. The only thing I can tell from here is, I think this one is important. So which means when you create a bucket, it has to be global unique. Let me create a bucket for you right now. So go back to the console. I can create a bucket for demo and Malaysia's, right? Okay, they are saying it can only be low cost, right? But if I see like some Steve, you see the bucket name is already exist. So I may have to use some other one like demo. Even demo, I think a lot of people use that, right? Demo dash Malaysia, right? So country. Let's see. Okay, I'm making it 9. And the region, I would like to click on the, let's put it in Malaysia, right? And here are some of the features I will introduce. I will introduce quickly, and you will see it also in the slide. When I create a bucket, Alibaba Cloud asks you to provide the region. You may put it in a specific region. Then we will ask you the question like how fast, which means whatever you have done to your object, we will record that kind of specific change and make a new version for you. So you can trace back to the historical different changes to your data. It's very useful. And this one is also important. It's called the ACL, Access List. So ACL means you need to give the object a common access and authorization policy. The second one and the third one is easy to understand, right? So public read means everyone, even the anonymous user can read it. And this one is even dangerous. So everyone can touch your data and change your data, right? So for demo purpose, I make it a public read, okay? But what is the private? Private means anonymous user can never access your object. It has to be someone with a username and access point policy. In Alibaba Cloud, it means it should be a RAM user or RAM role. Then there is a temporary access key and access secret. Then they can visit your objective through some command line or API. And this one is another security related feature. And I said for the OSS, right? You put data in the OSS, but you need to decide just like the RDS. Remember, in RDS, we have something called the TDE, right? To put the data in the database with encrypted. And OSS has a similar configuration. If you want everything in the OSS is encrypted, you can say, okay, I don't want it. It's okay. But if I want it, I may tell the OSS use your own, encryption mechanism, or you can select one of the, secret keys from the KMS to let the KMS provide the secret key to do the encryption. That is for the data secret. And the last one is about the log. If you enable this, we will retrieve and mark all the data access history into the log file and put it into the so-called log service, which is another Alibaba Cloud service. Okay, now you make all the decisions, right? You click OK to create your first bucket in Alibaba Cloud. After you create your bucket, let me see, someone is asking something. Yeah, good question. So Razili is asking a question, is private ACL support both read-write and read-only? So good question, because it is a private ACL, which means it is accessing the object through a specific user or role. So it is a read-write or read-only. It will be defined by that user's access policy. Okay, is that clear? Again, if it's a private access, it is a user-based access. Then it is a read or write or read-only will depend on what kind of access policy you assign to that user. Okay, hopefully I answer your question. Yeah. Now let's go back to files. To the bucket. Now you have a bucket. What's the major information you can see from the bucket console is now Alibaba Cloud give you something called the domain names. So every object storage can be accessed immediately from internet. So based on the region you select, right? And based on the domain name you give it, combine them together, you have a unified and globally bucket name, domain name is based on the bucket name with the region information. And what I can do is and I did just right now, I can upload any files right from here. Usually I choose something like this one. I like this guy. I always use this guy's pictures. Hopefully he's okay. And I think this guy is still alive. Does anyone know who this one is? It's a very trick question. I always ask our students. Does anyone know who this guy is? Wow, you really know this, right? Wow, I never expect anyone know him from the face, from the picture. Exactly, he invent the so-called the HTTP, right? Is the HTTP, and that is why we can have the capability to surf on the internet every day using your cell phone, using your PC. Without him, I don't know when we can really do the so-called the internet. We can enter the internet era. So I think Bonner is very important to the humankind, right? Because he invented the HTTP, and so we can connect the different web content from here and there, so that we can enjoy the global wide internet connection, especially for the web service. Okay, for this guy, sorry, for this picture, I can do the upload, right? I can, based on the picture, I click, you can see this is so-called the specific URL, and I can copy the URL and put it in the what? In the browser. That means I can access this object immediately, globally, right? Okay, you got the idea, right? This is for the object access. And now you see I enabled HTTPS. I can disable it. I can enable it by default. So every transition is secured. Which is secured. Access control, you already know I set the bucket level and the public read, and that object can be set another different ACL, but I inherit from the bucket. And now you see, looking at this one, bucket policy, you can authorize a specific user. It's a RAM user, right? And you can give it some specific operations. This is exactly to answer the question who asked just now, right? I think it's Razeli. So you can use the user here to give him read only, read write, or any other operations, right? And based on some specific criteria. Okay. That is even more refined policy control, right? And we have the hot link protection. Hot link means we don't want someone, especially the unauthorized user, to retrieve my data too frequently because it may bring down my performance of my server. You can using a specific, like something you trust. You put the name of this website only here. Then the incoming traffic, if they don't have this specific string included in their HTTP referral header. Referral is one of the header element. If they don't have this string in the referral, we will reject this request. So it's called the hot link protection. Cross-region resource sharing. I think later on I will introduce this complex. Then we look into the basic settings. Basic settings, server-side encryption. You already saw that, right? If you want to make sure your data is encrypted, you can do that. And we have another very specific feature called static pages. What is static page? Think about this scenario. If you have a lot of pictures you want to share with your friends or with your family, the first thing you may do is you can think, I want to set up a personal web-based album, like a personal album in the internet. But can I do that without a Apache server? Can I do that just upload my pictures to the cloud and people can immediately visit it and the web service? That is the feature the OSS can provide. It's called a static page. You can upload your whole picture, which is called the static content, to the OSS and just name two front-end HTML file to the OSS. You can just tell him, I have an index.html and some arrow .html, right? Then you save it. You will see from here, you can visit your whole static pictures directly. You don't need any ECS to set up the web hosting. It's called the static web hosting. It is very useful, but recently it's not very commonly used because now all the website is dynamic website. It is user interactively, not very static. Life cycle is more like a data transformation from the standard to the infrequent access to the archive, right? You can set up the different timeline. So once one of the data after how many days it is never touched, they can be moved to the archive. And once a long time the archive data is never touched, maybe based on some time rule, they can be deleted after the thing is, the time is up. So it is very, very useful for your cost management. You can always put the code data to the cold storage to save yourself even more money, right? Then we have the bucket tagging, back to origin. Okay, I may not go through these features one by one, but I give you one very important demonstration I always do in the classroom, which is this one. In Alibaba Cloud OSS, we have a special feature called the image processing. So if you are familiar with AWS or Azure, you can also remind me if the AWS or Azure has a similar functionality. Because in our courseware, by now, we were told that in our competition cloud vendors, we don't have this kind of, we don't see this kind of features. What is image processing? Image processing through the, let's go here. Let's through the slide. I'm going to show you. I already show a lot of things here. This one is image processing. For image processing, consider the situation that you have a bunch of the pictures in the cloud, especially OSS already, right? But one day your boss said, Steve, maybe you can change all these pictures to another format or change the size of all the pictures. But you have millions, even thousands of millions of pictures. Will you download them all and do the modification locally, then upload them all? That will be very tedious and very bandwidth consuming. That is why Alibaba Cloud provides this feature. You do not need to download your pictures. You just need to process them in the cloud, right? So what we do is we go here and we create a rule. This rule will define how you are going to process your data. It's just like a little bit like a function, right? All the final result you want to see from this picture. And then we can apply all this kind of processing rule to your existing picture, which save you a lot of efforts. You don't need to download and upload, and everything will be done and processed by the cloud automatically. The only thing you need to do is to create a rule to describe what you want to change for the picture. What I usually do demo is I can do the watermark, right? For my storage, and the watermark is usually here. There's a special watermark section. I can do the text-based watermark, and I can say hello, Malaysia, friend, right? This is my words, and I can use the default font. I'll change the font, whatever I want, and change the size, maybe 50. And the color, I make it a little bit white, and I put it on the top, right? And I can even twist it a little bit. Not twist, I mean roast, right? So by doing this, I define a specific so-called the format or rules for my pictures, right? I defined a rule called the watermark and put the code here. But how can I leverage it? What I do is I go back to the file, to the bonus picture, And now you see there will be a special list shown here. It's called the image style. I pick up the one I just created, right? You see, my watermark was applied and implemented to this picture immediately. And also, I can copy the URL and put it in the browser. I can get my new pictures, right? That I can download my picture, you know, to locally. So this is so-called the image processing, which Alibaba Cloud do the online and the cloud internal processing and save the customer a lot of effort. Okay. That is pretty much I want to introduce for OSS. I know someone may say I skip a lot of PPT. I didn't skip them. I just use the console demo to show all the features like the static website, like the server-side encryption, right? SSL and the different policy to do the access control, right? So don't worry because I already give you the ebook access. Remember yesterday, I asked for the, where I did, sorry, asked for the UID. If you want to have our ebook, you can using, you can give us Alibaba Cloud UID. We will grant the ebook access to you. But someone may say, how can I access my ebook? So to access your ebook, you go to the edu.alibabacloud.com and log in yourself first, right? You need to log in. Once you log in, I hit this. Once you log in, and you can go to here, it's My Learning, right? From My Learning, I have my courses here. I hit this. What's it? Yeah, sorry, here. Remember, from My Learning, you can see my courses, and you should be able to see your, 81002. Sorry, 8102. Yes, those kind of, the document there, right? That is just a quick introduction about how can you use our edu.alibabacloud.com fund your ebook, okay, to fund your ebook, which will cover the content I introduced today and yesterday. Okay, now it is 12. I got 30 minutes to introduce our auto scaling, right? Let's see, where is my auto scaling? It is actually a little bit over. Let me show you auto scaling. Alibaba Cloud. Okay. Now let's go back here and give you a hint about the auto scaling. Sorry. Here, right? Okay. We were here, right? We already introduced RDS. We already know what is the OSS. And now your listener, your SRB, ECS, and RDS OSS are connected. Our last problem we want to solve through the 2 days training is your business is growing, right? Incoming requests is growing from the SRB. But this kind of incoming request, not stable. It's not stable. Sometimes it is huge traffic. Sometimes it's small traffic, especially during the different period, like the holiday, like the night and the day time. It is different. But the resource, if you created the ECS here, it seems very stable, right? Is that possible? We can figure out a way. Let me remove this one. So is that possible? We can figure out a way to make this ECS much more flexible, which means, is that possible? I can create something called the auto scaling in Alibaba Cloud. When the traffic is not so heavy, I can remove some ECS out. And when the traffic is larger and is growing, I can automatically create some ECS and put it into this cluster, which means I want to have this infrastructure more elastic and can be able to scale out, right? And scale in. This is called the auto scaling in Alibaba Cloud. Okay, now you know the background of the business need for the auto scaling. Let's look into the slides a little bit. Regarding the scenario, we have two kinds of different scenarios. Sometimes you know what is going to happen in the future, which means you may be specifically planning product promotion for your online business, right? Those kind of scenarios. Sorry, where is my mouse? Mouse is gone. In the right side, for the gaming scenario, you exactly know your customer will come online usually at the middle night, usually after 10 p.m., right? That is preemptible, also estimable traffic. But on the left side, you see some of the events or activities just happened randomly. No one can know what is going on there. And just like this party or ceremony, right? A lot of people suddenly began to upload the pictures, videos. So it is unpredictable, right? Now go here and here. Based on this kind of requirement, we designed auto scaling with three major capabilities. First one, scale out. When something is going very heavy, very tendency, then we can add more ECS into it, right? And when something is going, loose and not need too much handling capability, we can bring the ECS out to save you some money. And the third one is health check. Please be notified that this health check is different from the SLB health check. Remember, SLB health check means if this ECS is not working, I will not forward traffic to it, right? But for the auto scaling, they will be more strict and more aggressive. If this ECS is not working, I will kick it out. Okay, let me check this. Sorry, my mouse is gone, so I need to do something to my slide. Give me 1 minute. I bring it back. Sorry, okay, my mouse is back. Good. Because I want to draw something here, right? So here, if this one is not working, the auto scaling will be very aggressive. They will kick it out, and based on your policy defined, they will create a new ECS and replace it. Remember, this is different from SLB. Why it is so aggressive? Because auto scaling consider his major responsibility to make sure we have enough resource to handle the incoming traffic, right? So if it is not working, we make sure there's someone can take it over. Otherwise, the whole workload may be dangerous and not enough to the real business. Okay, three major scenarios: scale out, scale in, and self-healing. But one more question, one more thing you need to look at is picture is previously we mentioned the two scenarios, predictable and unpredictable. For predictable, it's timeline based. So we can just take a cron job, right, to do the scheduling, right? But for the unpredictable, we have to do a lot of monitoring. We need to monitor the resource. If the CPU is overload or if the memory is overload, we need to do something based on the event. But who will monitor and provide the matrix of the data? It is Alibaba Cloud Monitor. So you already see this product again and again, right? Autoscaling will work with Cloud Monitor and grab some data from there. And then if the calculation is meet the criteria to take some actions, they will take some actions. Okay. So you got the idea of the autoscaling, and you now know the two scenarios we support, the scheduled one and the dynamic one. And another important thing I want to emphasize is they do have some relationship with SRB and RDS. Why is that? Let's go back to the picture. Here, we are saying that whatever the situation is hit, we will add a new ECS to this autoscaling group, right? We call it autoscaling group. But the question is, the new ECS, how can it join the real work by let himself be known by the SRB and also be able to connect to the database, right? So let me draw this one. You another color. Let me maybe another color. Which color is better? Let's use the green color. So once this ECS want to join a new scaling group, not only we need to make sure it is working and healthy, but also we need to automatically let him being known by the existing SRB. And also we need to make sure the ECS can immediately access this backend RDS, right? Remember, this kind of accessibility is defined by something called what? The whitelist, right? The new IP of this ECS need to be added to this RDS whitelist. And if the ECS want to work under the SRB, they need to be added to the backend and the backend server to a specific listener. Am I right? All these two kind of actions, right, will be done by the autoscaling. That is what I shown here in this slide. So we support SRB auto configuration. We support RDS auto configuration. So you get the idea, right? Yes. So Taju, to answer your question, it's not actually related to SRB. Autoscaling need every ECS he managed to be running. So for the SRB, it is, we suggest you to be running, right? If it's not running, so what is the reason you want to add it to? And for Joshua, you are saying downscaling is how quick? It's very quick. It is, you can just consider it when you remove it, they just how quick we bring down ECS. It could be very quick, just in a few seconds, I think. So now you may still have some questions regarding to the whole autoscaling feature, and also you may look into the table and even have more confusion about the concept, like what is a scaling group, what is scaling configuration, the rules, activities, trigger tasks, and even the cooldown time, right? So don't worry, I'm going to start my demo right now and show you exactly how the autoscaling can work, okay? Okay, Tadru, just give me several minutes. I'm going to demonstrate to you, and you can. I think I can answer the question immediately. Okay. Yeah, let's see the demo. Go to the auto scaling, right? So now you see in the auto scaling, I only have something related to my container service. You don't need to worry about that. Let's create a auto scaling group from ground, and you can follow me step by step. Let's create a scaling group from scratch. Let's create. Okay, I'm making it a little bigger. We name it and a demo again, Malaysia. I think this should be fine, right? And we create the ECS from scratch also to give you a better understanding. Some of the policies they may define is called the removing policy. It is for the scale in. Once you need to remove some ECS, you may give them some hints like this one. Should you remove the earliest one, or should you remove the recent created one? It is just a policy. You can, based on your own situation, to do the decision. I just leave it on default. One of the important factors here is maximum number and the minimum number. These two are always tested in our ACA examination. So now I'm going to put it in 2 and 6. So I'm requiring my scaling group has a minimum number of 2 and the minimum number of 6. Okay. And what is a cooldown time? So cooldown time is after you just execute a scaling activity, right? Like adding or removing. If you set a particular cooldown time, we will make sure in that cooldown time period, another activity will not happen. So that is a name, we call it the cooldown time. It is more like if you are angry, right? If you are a person, if you're angry, you may want to do a lot of damage things continuously, right? Cooldown time means if you do one damage thing first, you should hold yourself for 5 minutes and make sure the situation is cooling down, and you try not to do some immediate action again and again. So cooldown time is a little bit to help you to see the situation is getting better or getting worse. If you add one ECS and the situation is getting better, you may not want to do the second activity immediately, because sometimes the alert is generating very fast, but the situation cooling down may take a little bit of time. So give the situation a small time period, and it's called the cooldown time. So we make it default, and we can just make it 30 seconds, a little bit smaller. Then the other factors is not important, but let's see this one. Here is the information I mentioned about the SRB and the RDS, but you need to take up a VPC first. Let's take up a VPC by default and take all the vSwitch inside for the scaling group. Then I'm going to map one of the SRB I can find from my environment. So this is yesterday I created a Malaysia demo. I use it. And also for the RDS, I think I can find some RDS here. They don't have the name, but from the name maybe. Sorry, let me check out. Check out the RDS. Which instance I'm going to use. Okay, this is the ID, the 696Q. I'm going to use this one. This is my circle RDS. Remember, I do this because I want to show you how the auto scaling can automatically add the new ECS to the SRB and to the RDS, right? And then you click OK. and you click OK, right? So I create a new scaling group, but it is disabled. It is disabled. What you want to do is you still need to add one thing. It's called a scaling configuration. And you can add more than one scaling configuration to the scaling group, but each time, a particular moment, only one scaling group can make effect, can be active, right? So I add one, right? This is very similar like the ECS creation, but now I'm defining what kind of ECS should be created for this auto scaling purpose, right? I use PNU Go and I select, just for demo purpose, I select a cheap one, one CPU, 1 GB memory, and using just a random image, and I don't need some public IP address, I think. And a select security group should be a default one. Make a default one. Okay, this is the exactly ECS specification I want to define for my auto scaling, right? And I confirm and go next. There's not too much other things I need to I just set it later. And this one is auto scaling demo my, right? Nice. Next. Here is a very important configuration. You see, here there's a box is asking about the load balancer weight. This is very interesting. Why they are asking the weight here? Because in the picture and I showed you, if you want to add this ECS to the SRB need to know what kind of weight you want to configure for that, because in the future it need to compare between him and this existing ECS, right? So let me make it a strange number so you can distinguish it from others later on. Then we can see what else we need. There's nothing else, I think. Yeah, and maybe I just create. Right. So my question will be now, if I want to enable this configuration, what will happen on the backend? After I enable this, right? They ask me again, are you sure? I said, I'm sure. So I click OK. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Click OK. So what will happen in the backend? Because remember I defined two configurations, the maximum ECS and minimum ECS. So after I enable this configuration, it will make sure the minimum ECS will be created. So if you go to the instances here, you are seeing that 2 ECS is created, right? And they were named as demo MYS1, which I gave it a name, and they were creating and refreshing, and they were being added to this scaling group, right? And if you go back to the ECS console, okay, and you should also be able to see these two servers, the auto scaling 1, 2, right? It's just being created, and it is already in the running status. So I go back to this and refresh. You can see I don't know what is the problem with my window. Looks strange. Okay, this one. So you see, I have my 2 ECS already created and with the weight defined. So now let's go to go to the SRB. Go to the SRB. This one is the one I created yesterday, right? And you go to the listener. Okay, sorry, not this one. Modify the listener and go to the next. And see here. Now you see behind the listener, I have my two ECS automatically added to this listener. And the weight, remember the weight is set to 70, which I configured as the auto scaling configuration. This proves that the auto scaling will automatically add the ECS to the SRB, right? And at the same time, let's go to the RDS. We go to the RDS. We found the security configuration and go to the whitelist. And now you see there are two private IP address being added default to the whitelist. Let's check out the ECS IP address 100 and 200. The ECS should be here. Let's go to another console. Go to the instance, right? So see, this is my private IP address, 100, 200, and 100, 200, 1, right? Which means for RDS, we saw the two IP address was automatically added to the whitelist. This proved what we're trying to prove in this picture. Every new ECS will be automatically configured back to the SRB and add to the whitelist of the ECS. Okay. Now you have the idea of this newly created scaling group. Let's plan for two special tasks, right? One of the things is the schedule task. Schedule task means I want to schedule something. But before that, let me doing one more thing. I need to see. Let me go inside this one. I need to create a task. Not task. Sorry, this one. This is the scaling rule. Scaling rule means the exactly activity you want to do. Let's say maybe scale. Let's say add to, right? It's very simple, right? It's a simple scaling rule. I will going to add to instance, right? The cooldown time, let's just say 30 minutes, 30 seconds. This is the first rule I define. I can also define maybe remove to, right? Using simple rules and remove to instance, right? It's very simple. I define two activities. Then I can begin to define the scheduling task. I will create a scheduling task. Let's use the name of double 11. I always like to use this name, double 11, because I know exactly when what will happen, something will happen. I will say double 11. I'm going to, today is January 20, right? Let's use this time. And let's see. Now it is 12, let's see, 2 minutes later. Okay. 1 minute later, I'm going to using this scaling group demo to do what kind of things. I'm going to scale out, add 2, right? This is my role, and I'm going to click OK. So I'm putting a schedule task 1 minute later. So when the time is up, they will going to add 2 new ECS to my scaling group. Okay, let's just put it here. And let's create another called event trigger task. So what is the event trigger task? Event trigger task means I need to know some kind of matrix Okay, the thing in my mind is memory overload, because this is a very easy to be demonstrate feature. Every ECS is using some, let me show you this. Remember, for the ECS, we have something called the monitoring, right? Where can I monitor it? Let me click here. Let me monitor the ECS. See here, every ECS has a general average memory usage. Even you don't run any workload, the operating system may take some memory out, right? So this make my demonstration much easier, because when I create the task, I want to make sure something will definitely happen for sure. So I call it memory overload. I select my scaling group and I use the memory and the matrix. And every 1 minute, we will do the monitoring. And the consideration is average should multi than 5%. You know, generally average is 25%, right? So 5% is definitely some rule will be triggered, okay? And I will make it one time. It's much easier. Trigger one time, we will trigger the event. And after the trigger, we will do something like add to also to do the ECS extension. Then I click OK. Now you go back here, and you back here, I set 2 tasks. And I would like to go back to the scaling group and click inside to see if anything was happening. So suddenly you see now the ECS is already 4, right? And you can go to the ECS, you see you already got 4 ECS. And this 2 new ECS, I believe, is added by our scheduled task. If you don't believe that, you can go to the scaling activities. So they are telling you that so far by now, you have 2 activities be done. The first one is like this. The first one is my creation. So to meet the minimum number of the ECS, the capacity was changed from 0 to 2, right? And the second one is also from 2 to 4, but now this time is because a scheduled task is executed, right? So I keep refreshing. Maybe it should be something happened to this. Oh, it is triggered, right? You see the memory overload task. I mean, this kind of event is already being triggered. So I believe something is also happening on the back end. I think some instance was keep creating. Oh, you see, the 2 new instance is creating, right? And I'm going to see those two instances very soon. And then I can go back to the scaling activity and see, okay, there's another 2 new ECS is adding, right? So it's under execution. So now I click here and say, it's saying that an alarm task, right, is executed to make it to 4 to 6, right? So that explains all the necessary information you may want to check out from this table. We create auto-scaling group, right? And we do a configuration, which include the ECS specification, those kind of information. Then we create something called a scaling rule, like add to or remove to. And the auto scaling will keep monitoring what is happening. It's called the scaling activity, right? And the trigger is the event will actually make the rule being executed. And the cooldown time is when something was happening too frequently, the cooldown time will tell them, okay, now you are still in the cooldown period. I cannot do it. Okay. And then I keep refreshing. Oh, you see a new reject warning is coming out. So let's see the details. Why it is rejected. Why it is rejected. You see the reason here is that the total capacity will not change, because now you have 6 numbers of the ECS in your scaling group, and you define a maximum number of the ECS. since the maximum number is reached, so the following activities will never be done. Okay. That will end my introduction to the auto-scaling. Through this demo, I hope you can have a better understand about what the auto-scaling is and what it actually do. So let me make a quick recap. So today I introduced the RDS, OSS, and auto-scaling. Based on yesterday's SRB and the ECS, we can now have a fundamental architect in your mind, right? The architect is like SRB at the front end. Together with the DNS, you can accept the request. The ECS can be organized very flexibly and elastic to be automatically scale in and out to handle the not stable traffic, right? And on the back end, you have a database to handle the unified centralized data storage. And OSS can be used to store those videos, pictures, which is not so structured, but should be visited globally and randomly. Okay, that will be the end of my training for today and yesterday. Hopefully you enjoy those kind of fundamental products from Alibaba Cloud. And through this training, I just want to give you a chance to look into our technologies. And this is just a beginning. Besides the fundamental products, we also have the container service. We also have the big data, AI, and a lot of different solutions. So in the future, if you have any further requirement to know our other products better, to know our other solutions, you can contact Angie and leave your comments in the survey. So before I release you guys home, I may have another requirement. Is the last requirement is I need to get some feedback from the training. So if you have your mobile, you can scan the QR code, but I'm going to copy this survey link to the chat box